Hi, my name is Tim. This is Timberway Designs. In this video, I'm going to take 10 rocks, common rocks anybody can find out there, and I'm going to cut them in half. We're going to look what's inside of them. And then I'll take these 10 rocks here and I'll make a cabochon out of each one of them and show them on the following episode, which will be 45. On this episode, I got the rocks from the previous episode that Liz sent from California, and I have made cabochons out of those, and we'll look at those at the end of the video. So let's take a look at these rocks we're going to cut in half today. So here are today's rocks. I had a viewer out in Rhode Island named Roger, was kind enough to send me all these rocks here, and we're going to cut them in half and look inside and see what they look like. So we'll start with this one here. This is a big rock, but that's okay. My saw can handle this. It looks like it's mostly feldspar. Let's take a look at it. Give it a little bath here, kind of make the colors pop. There you go. Not sure what the dark stuff is, but I got a feeling it's going to be looking pretty neat on the inside. Got this one here, kind of quartzy looking, got more feldspar in it. That's kind of interesting looking color and pattern there. Another one here with some feldspar in it. Quartz looks like, or quartzite. I'm liking the orange and the gray already. It's not really loaded with it either. Okay. This one here, to me it looks like almost like an amygdaloidal, but I'm not really sure since these rocks are not from around here. It looks like a quartz and maybe a quartzite or something underneath there. Interesting. This one here looks like a piece of quartz. Yeah, it's got some pattern going on in there too. Okay. All right, this one here looks like a piece of gneiss. Hey, look at the difference when you dry versus wet. Got some pretty strong pattern going on there, it looks like. All right, this one here's got some swirly stuff going on in there. Fortifications. This one might be really interesting. Yeah, look at that. We shall see. And here's another one. Looks like it's got fortifications running through there. Yeah. Cool. And we got this one here. Looks like it's got a little pinkish theme going on there. And some swirly stuff. Another chunk of quartz here. Okay. Ooh, red spot. And we got this chunk here. To me, right off the bat, it looks like a chunk of granite. Not super positive. Get it wet, see what it looks like. Okay. Yeah. Got a feeling the pattern inside. I don't know. It's hard to say sometimes. It'll probably be the same pattern, but it might be a totally different color. It won't have any of the staining on the outside. All right. So I'm going to gather these rocks up here. We're going to take them downstairs to the saw, and we're going to cut them open and see what's inside. Okay, we're down here on my high-tech 10-inch trim saw. I just want to show you something here. This is a continuous rim sintered diamond blade. It don't cut by being sharp, it cuts by grinding with diamonds. And right now I'm rubbing my thumb on the blade like that, and it don't even cut the glove. So this saw blade will not cut me, so do not worry about me cutting my fingers on this thing. So the other thing I'm going to do before we get going is I'm going to touch up the blade to expose more diamonds so I can get a better cut on these rocks here. So we'll start cutting. Usually about 3 times. A little shortcut like that is very adequate for this. So we got Big Daddy here. I'm kind of liking the lines running through there like that, so I'm going to cut this side off right here. Alright, rock number 1, episode 44. Let's see what Roger sent. Oh, cool pattern. Okay, now we're going to talk about these a little bit more upstairs when we get done. So, got this one here. I'm just going to cut it. I'm going to cut it right down the middle here. Actually, I'm going to go this way. See what we got. Actually, it's kind of clear looking rock. Okay. Alright, got this one here. I've been kind of debating because I got this green stuff here, but I think I'm going to cut this end off here because there's some lines running through it, so we're going to go that way. See what we got here. Oh. Alright. I think that'll work. Well, I can tell you right now I'm going to split this one right down the center. Imagine the inside's going to look just like this. Oh yeah. Okay. Got this one here. And I'm trying to think. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to cut it just like this. See what we got. Okay. There's a pattern in there. Alright, got this one here. I planned. I'm going to cut this side off right here. Thinking this is another one that's going to look the same on the inside. Actually, it looks exactly the same on the inside. Okay. This one here, I'm going to cut this side off just like that. Let's see if the pattern's all the way through there. Yeah, there it is. Awesome. Got this little guy here. I'm just going to split it right down the middle. Kind of hoping for some pattern in here. A little bit. Okay. Got this one here, had some lines and stuff. I'm going to cut this, let's think. I'm going to cut this end off here. Now, did I make the right decision cutting it like this, or should I cut the other way? Let's see what we did. Oh. Okay. Liking that, because the thinking here was, you know, I can always come back and I can cut this side off here if I don't like that, but I like that. All right. Got this piece of nice here. I think I'm going to split it right down the middle. Alright, got us all that good pattern on the outside. Let's hope for some good pattern on the inside. Alright. Kind of rough though. And it's got some porosity right there. Alright, so let's gather these rocks up, take them upstairs, and we'll take a closer look at them. Alright, we're back upstairs from the saw. Not going to lie to you, there's a few soft ones in there, so I don't know if I'll be able to do anything with them or not, but there's some pretty cool looking rocks in here. So we'll start with the first one we cut right here. Dunk it in the bath here, get some of the crumbs off of it. So to me it looks like a big chunk of feldspar, you know, with the planes and everything, but I'm not positive because it seemed kind of soft when I cut it. So there's the inside right there. I like the design or the pattern. So I think if it stays together and polishes, it's going to look really awesome. So there's the outside again. And we had this one here. Looks like a quartz with some chunks of feldspar in it. And actually it's got a little pattern, but it's kind of clearish. And it was a harder rock, made a pretty good cut. So I'm certain it'll polish nicely, but if there's enough of the bits of feldspar, if I can incorporate them into the cab, I think that'll be a dazzler there. So there's that one. And this one, I had to think about this, how I was going to cut it, because it had this big chunk of green rock on the bottom here, but also had, looked like bands running through it. So I went ahead and cut it like this, and it seemed pretty solid, and you can see kind of bands running through there, and so there's some pattern in that right there. So, and it was a fairly hard rock too, so I think it's going to make a nice cab. So there's that one. All right, this was another soft one here. We'll see what I can do with it. I might take another chunk out of it too. So at first looking at it, I thought it was like a granite, but it's not a granite. It was way softer than that. And the color on the outside went in the inside, which is kind of unusual because usually you'll see it looks like it's stained, and a lot of times that won't go inside the rock like that. But in this case it did. So we'll see what we can do with that. Like I said, I'm probably going to come back and I'm going to take another slab off this side here, but we'll see. So this is probably one of my favorite ones going into this. This one had the most pattern. It had some fortifications right along the bottom there, kind of agate-like stuff. It was relatively hard. And there's what the inside looked like. So I'm going to get this in there somehow. The rest of it don't look too bad either. I mean, it's got some neat looking stuff going on in there. It looks like it's got a little porosity where that right by my thumb or right here, but we can work around that. And then again, I can always go downstairs and cut it a different way and see if I can get another pattern at it. And there's a little druzy pocket right there. All right. This one here, kind of like a little plain Jane piece of quartz, but you know, it's got a little gray color to it, and it's got some really kind of interesting little patterns running through there. Got to look like a little fracture running up the center, of course. But let's see if that active fracture. I don't know, hard to tell. We'll see when we go to cab it. So make nice little cab both sides. And this one here, I said it was a mignaloidal. It's not a mignaloidal. It's a chunk of quartz with some, I don't know, more quartz on it, granite or something. I don't know. That's the inside there. I kind of like this top part. That'll definitely be incorporated into the cabochon somehow. And it was a relatively hard cut. Like I said, it looks like quartz, so it's going to make a shiny cab for sure. This one here was the other one that had, looked like it had fortifications. You can see it right there, all the way around the rock. And they go on the inside. And it was a relatively hard rock to cut, so it's going to be nice and shiny. This one here, I might take this back down to saw and look at it. I just cut the end off like that. And it looks pretty much the same all the way around. I didn't see any really features that popped out at me. It was relatively hard, hard stone. And it looks kind of, you can kind of see inside of it right there. I don't know if you can see it on camera or not. You go close look at it. It's kind of got a lot of clear quartz running through there. So we'll see what we can do with that. And this is the other one that I'm concerned about. I said it was nice, but I don't know if it's nice or not. It's really crumbly. Actually, I cut it in half and immediately it fell apart here. And then there's the inside right there. Thought I had a pretty good looking bold pattern going on in there, but I mean, if I make a cabochon out of this side here, that feels pretty stabilized and nice smooth cut. We'll see. This is what I'm looking at on the outside. I thought, that'll look good. So we'll take all these rocks that Roger donated to us from Rhode Island, and I'm going to make a cabochon out of each one of these. And then you'll get to see those in episode 45, which, the next episode, I'll say that. So now we're going to clear this wet mess out of the way, and we're going to look at the rocks and the cabochons that Liz sent from California. So give me a second here and we'll get them up. Okay, we're back with the rocks that Liz sent from California. I cut these in half in episode 43. Now we're going to look at the cabochons I made out of them. And I am not lying when these cabochons came out really nice. So we'll look at this one here. This is this brown one. It had some fortifications in it right there. And I thought I was a little worried about this one. I didn't think it would shine as good as I thought it would. Just kind of remind you what it looked like there. Okay. Well, here is the cabochon I made out of it. Look at that. Look at the shine on that thing. And I got the fortifications there and there. There's a little bit of porosity on the right side where the light is, but man, this one come out really nice. Look at that. So I'm kind of impressed. Actually, I'm impressed with all these rocks here. So this is original rock, and there's cab I made out of it. And we had this one here, quartz with some stuff floating in there. Put a little water on there. I love the pattern in here, but it had a few fractures. You can see them. It had even more than that you can't really see, but they're in there. So I was kind of trying to avoid all the fractures. So here's the cab I made out of it. Look at that. Another beautiful shine. Gets a little bitty fracture in the corner there. Other than that, I think it looks great. I captured pretty much the pattern and the quartz and stuff best I could. So yeah. So there's original rock, and there's cabochon I made out of that. And this one's very similar to the previous one. It had this quartz with this brachiated jasper or turtle floating around in there. Very beautiful. And here's the cabochon I made out of that one. Nice, really shiny. got pretty much everything that one had to offer too. Yeah, I don't know, you got some good looking stuff here. There's the original rock and there's cab. Here's another pretty rock. It had a quartz with a bunch of bricated jasper or chert or something floating in there. Really colorful. I'll get it wet here. Look at that. So here is the cabochon. Beautiful shine. Got all kinds of stuff floating in there. Kind of cool. A little color. Yeah, another nice one. Here's the original rock and there's cab I made out of it. This one here kind of had a pastel color going, a little greenish blue and some reddish. A little cracked up, but it's just, you know, some rocks are just like that. I wouldn't say they're fractures. Like, you know, if that was all fractures, this thing would just fall apart, but it don't. Well, here's another dazzler cabochon right here. Look at the shine on that and the pattern. Got the red and the blue-ish, little green on the bottom there. I think the cracks add a little character to this thing. There's the original rock, and there is the cabochon I made out of it. All right, another one here. This one was really hard. I had to grind on this one for quite a while to get it to the shape I wanted. Had that dark spot in there, kind of another bricated rock. Lots of quartz. I'm going to say Cal Sydney because, like I said, it was super hard, but super hard makes a super shiny cabochon. Look at that. There's a dark spot there. Obviously, it didn't come through there. Well, it kind of leaking out right down there. Yeah, isn't that cool? There's the original rock, and there's the cabochon I made out of it. This one here is probably my favorite one because I like the bluish color here. Get it white again. Look at that. That's just gorgeous. Well, here's the cab. Look at that. There's more in the back. Actually, it looks almost like there's a fortification right there above my thumbnail, but just a tiny little bit of undercutting where the square light is, but man, it ain't gonna make any difference. At least I don't think so. So there's the cab, and there is the rock it came from. So I had this, I don't know, I think I called it a plain Jane rock. And it was a hard one too. You know, nice black and white pattern going on in there. Here's the cabochon. Another beautiful shine. Just a tiny bit of undercutting. You can kind of see it in the square light there, but you know, sometimes when you get two minerals mixed together like that, one's just a hair softer than the other, and that's what you get. But man, you're not gonna notice that. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? So there's the original rock, and there's cabochon. I like this one a lot too, full of fractures. So I shaved off the one side so I can get another 2 slabs out of this, so hopefully I can build something bigger. You know, I wanted to do down in here, but it's just the fractures. You saw, if you watch the video, you'll see it come apart, but still, look at the cabochon I made out of that. Nice and shiny. Got some of the plume in there. There's a fracture in there too, but I don't think it's going to affect anything. Could be the edge of a plume too. It's hard to tell. So there is the cabochon, and there is the rock I made it from. And this one here kind of surprised me. You know, obviously it's quartz and something there. And it was really pretty, but I thought it was kind of soft. And I was afraid it was going to undercut like crazy. Look at that. Well, here's the cab. Super shiny. Just a tiny bit of undercutting where the green stuff is. But man, I just love the pattern on this one. Look at that. So there's the original rock, and there's cabochon I made out of that one. So I'm going to let Liz pick out 3 of these cabochons since she sent the rocks to me, and then the rest of the ones will end up on Etsy. Then will be available. And then what I'll probably end up doing is some of these, especially this one and this one for sure, and that one. Well, all of them will probably be making more cabs out of these. They're just too cool. So thanks again, Liz, for sending the rocks out to Timberway Designs and put on the video and made some really cool cabochons out of them. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me cut those rocks from Rhode Island that Roger sent. I think there's going to be some nice looking cabs coming out of that batch, and there's a couple in there that might be kind of, you know, need a little more TLC than the other ones, but I'm going to manage to do something with them. And then the cabochons I made out of the rocks that Liz sent from California, absolute dazzlers. They're just gorgeous. And then the ones she don't pick, they'll end up on Etsy page. The Etsy, there's a link in the description down below if you want to check that out. I'd like to thank the subscribers out there. The numbers keep creeping up a little bit at a time, and I'd like to see more of you jump on board for this awesome content here. All you viewers out there, if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. There's a button down below. It's absolutely free. You can slide over, give me a thumbs up. That gets the analytics out there so more people can find this content, and you can like it, share it, and hyperlink it, and ring the bell. Yeah, I said like it. Ring the bell, hyperlink it, and share it. There we go. And then this video will come out every Wednesday morning. And then I have another video that comes out every Saturday morning where I make a cabochon from the rough rock all the way to the finished cab. Watch that. You can slide over and watch that. And then if you're watching that, you can come back over and watch these here. Just kind of go back and forth. Got a lot of videos out there now. So at the end of the video here, I'm going to put a playlist up for this series here where I cut the rocks in half. And then I'll put the last video of the previous episodes. So if you want to see the rocks that Liz sent me cut in half, you can jump there and then jump back and see the cabochons made out of them. So thanks again for watching. That's all I got, and I'll catch you later.